All right. In a Fox and Friends exclusive, Melania Trump is setting the record straight on her life, her family, and the election that's coming up.
She lays it all out in a new memoir called Melania, set to hit the shelves next month.
So we were able to sit down with the former First Lady for this exclusive interview, her first in more than 2 years. Take a look. Why did you want to tell your story in this book?
I believe that it was the time that I tell my story and the truth. It is a lot of misinformation and falsehoods written about me, and I want to put the record straight, and people can learn some things that they were never discussed, and I hope they enjoy the book.
How did you feel about Donald Trump running again?
I support him. I know how passionate he is to make America great again.
We saw you backstage at the RNC. Do you want to talk about why you decided not to come out on stage and give a speech like you did in 2016?
It was my decision. I think was just the time. I think was the right time. In days before, I wrote a beautiful letter to America.
Yes.
And I think in one way that letter was my speech.
The raid on Mar-a-Lago, the house manager texts you and says the FBI is outside the house. They had access to my bedroom, closets, office, and rummaged through my personal items. Even searched Barron's room, you say. So how invasive was that? Did it make you angry? How did you feel?
Yeah, it made me angry. Yes, invasion of privacy. And the way it was done I was really surprised.
And you told your house manager, just leave it, don't touch anything, don't put it back. You wanted to see it for your own eyes. With your own eyes, what did it look like when you walked back in your house that had been raided?
I saw unpleasant stuff that nobody wants to see it. And you get angry because, nobody should be putting up with that kind of stuff. Some person, I don't even know who or how many people, they went through my stuff.
So the assassination attempts, the first one is in Butler, Pennsylvania. And you write about watching the assassination attempt on TV. And you started working and you were distracted, so you pushed pause. I think your chief of staff maybe called you and said, he's okay, but there's been a shooting. What happened next?
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind. And something, I guess, look over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet. Right. Because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
So you called him and he didn't answer his phone and you called Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And what did they say?
First, the Secret Service was not available too because they were with him, right? And then after that, I got the Secret Service on the phone and they said that he's okay. We are on the way to the hospital. He will be okay.
And were you able to talk to him on the phone eventually?
Yes, I did.
And then your son rushes into the room.
Yes.
And he had been told, your son is in college, I understand, but he's still your child. This is his father. How difficult was that to have that conversation with him?
Very difficult. He was outside playing sport, and he rushed in, and was very, very difficult.
And then a few weeks later, there's another attempt on your husband's life at your golf course. Where were you, and what was your reaction to this attempt?
I was in New York City, actually, and I saw it on the television. And as soon as I saw it on television, I called again, and he was okay because Secret Service were great. The guys that they were with him, they were fantastic. And I think Both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
And he normally doesn't call for that one screen. He waits till the end of the speech. So just looking at that screen allowed him to turn his head.
Yeah.
And he said it was providential. Does this make you believe in it more in a higher power? How has that been for you?
I think something was watching over him. I think it's almost like country really needs him.
That maybe God's sparing his life?
Yes.
And then we were told this week, and we were told that authorities have already known this for a while, that there was an Iranian plot to kill your husband. So I watched this video that you released on social media questioning the first assassination attempt. For the second one, if they knew that there was this plot, why didn't they sweep the golf course?
It's interesting how quiet and everything became, all of the mainstream media. There were a few days reporting about July 13 event, and everything then became quiet. So I had a lot of questions. What's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. The country needs to unite. And I encourage everybody to read my letter that I wrote on July 14 again, because that cannot continue.
Letter was very powerful. What made you get to the point of writing that letter?
That's how I felt. That's how I felt.
How do you feel when people say they don't like him? What do you wish they knew about him?
That he is really a family man. He loves his family. He loves this country. And all he wants to build better and prosperous.
Yeah, he's just strong. He's not afraid to
No, he's not
talk
strong.
about the way it really is.
You could see the way he was when he was shot, that in the ear, that the way he stood up and he said, fight, 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 because we cannot allow that to happen.
Okay, becoming First Lady. You wrote in the book when you found out you were watching Fox News right here in Trump Tower, and you write, I vividly recall Bret Baier's announcement, the president-elect is Donald J. Trump. And he looked at you and he said, can you believe it? And you said, yes, I can. Your life immediately changed. When did it hit you? I am the First Lady of the United States.
I don't know that it hits you, but you know that you have extra responsibility.
You talked about having special bonds with First Ladies, with the wives of prime ministers. Who really did you, when you were just there with them and you had to sit at the dinner table and talk, I'm sure some were just incredibly fun. You really bonded with a few of them. Anyone come to mind?
It's interesting because when you meet many times, you establish a relationship. So with Mrs. Macron, Brigitte Macron,
she's fun.
She's fun. Yeah. We always had great laughs. And with Aki, Mrs. Abe, and I'm so sorry what happened to him. So it was very special relationships with each of them.
You've also traveled to visit our soldiers. You did that at Christmas time. You left your family. It was in the dead of night, and you fly over to Iraq to bless the troops. What was that like for you, and what about the reaction from the troops?
It was a very secretive meeting, and when we arrived that night, the energy of the soldiers, we walked in and everybody started cheering that they see us, like, what a big surprise.
They were not expecting that, were
Not
they?
at all.
So what makes Donald Trump want to do this again?
All he wants to, as he says, make America great again. He wants to make this country prosperous, safe for everybody. He wants to make American dream possible again.
What was your reaction to Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee?
Well, how I see it is the record speaks for itself. The country is suffering. People are not able to buy usual necessities for the families. We have wars going on around the world. Soldiers are dying. They were dying under this administration because of weak leadership. The border is open and dangerous. A lot of fentanyl is coming over, killing our youth. It's very hard to see. And an economy, it's really not great. Inflation is high. And if we compare these 4 years under this administration compared to 4 years under my husband as commander-in-chief, he was leading the country through peace, through strength. And the border was safer than ever before. We didn't have any wars. People were prospering. They had jobs. They could support their families. So I think American people need to decide what they really want. Maybe some, strong tweets, but everything else great for this country. So it's all in the American people's hands on November 5th.